Welcome everyone to Tarot Journeys with Guy. Glad to see everybody back. I hope you watched yesterday's episode around the moon, because today we're going to do Antarctica. These two, in my mind, are definitely connected, especially around the secrets and stuff. Now, within the conspiracy world and things like that, Antarctica has been... It's always been sort of on the forefront, but it's also the most mysterious. People have a lot of differing ideas about Antarctica. Now, I'm not going to get into certain areas of this. I'm more concerned with what is the cover-up? What are they doing? What have they been doing down there? What part does this play, Antarctica? What part does it play in the whole dynamic of this situation that we find ourselves in, this world situation, but also the secret space program and part of their cover-up and part of the agenda, part of the deep state apparatus, and like, what are they doing down there? What are they covering up? Now, every major deep state president and leader has made a trip down there. There's so much mention of it that it is the only treaty on the planet that is solely international and sort of really centered around like the public perception of like a no weapons treaty. But it's the only place on the planet where there's this full cooperative effort and completely blacked out in many ways. In certain places you can't go. And people talk a lot about, like, I mean, there's a lot of theories around the pole itself and see, but I'm curious what they're doing down there. What are they covering up? What are we going to look, what can we get an insight into? That's what we're going to look into. So first, we're just going to kind of get a broad view, take a look. I've looked into this a lot. I've studied a lot of things around it. So I'm curious, right? And it's going to be fun. Okay, let's check it out. This card, the card in the middle here, the Five of Pentacles, that came up in yesterday's reading. And it's kind of interesting. I didn't really talk about sort of what I was picking up with inside the moon as well. But like it was kind of like there was an inner part of it. Like that's kind of where they might be situated. This card represents sort of like from the outside, it looks impoverished. It looks like there's nothing going on. Like these two people are sick and poor, and they're looking for help, and they're looking for refuge from a storm. And they're walking by a temple or a cathedral or a synagogue or a holy place of some sort. And within the structure itself, that's what the stained glass kind of represents, is within is what truly resides, right? Is source, is the heart of the matter. Okay, and so that's kind of what this is talking about. It's like whatever's going on really there, it's inside the earth, right? And so like this kind of goes into this inner earth theory that people have always had, but like, and also the idea that they have found, the understanding of like how the earth works and like the mantle and the crust and it might be much more intricate and much more deeper, and there could be these very deep underground cavities and and like geothermal, like this kind of idea that they've accessed some sort of a geothermal situation that allows them to sort of like live in there, right? But yet it's within, so it's like hidden within. Right, and so we know this. We know that it's everything. Like you look into Antarctica, and it's like, wow, it's really going down a rabbit hole, right? So that's part of it. It's funny how snow pops up here too within the symbol, right? And so that's kind of tarot is an expression of symbols, right? And it's being able to read those, right? So interesting too. This card below. This card, there's two major arcana cards here. So in the past, this is what I kind of alluded to before. There was like a legal agreement and a legal arrangement that was made there that acts as a template for other courses of action that are on that same kind of plane, which leads us to the moon and that idea of like off-world and like forming like a legal code and all of the things that sort of operate on the planet, but an international one, like an extra-national one, a globalist one. Like this is partly what these deep state bad actors have been working on, these internationalists, these globalists. And that's part of it. That's why it's such a prominent thing. The other thing is it's their centerpiece for creating the climate narrative. Okay, this is like one of these places where experimentation is done, and this is what they use to present to people, and they've continuously done so as part of since Admiral Byrd's time, because of what they've actually been doing down there. And that's the thing. It's like they are covering up what they are actually doing. This kind of interesting, Ace of Pentacles. So this is past, present, future, right? Ace of Pentacles is like something was discovered, something was like offered, but this could be a discovery. This could be like what people like talk about, like ruins and artifacts and things like this from previous era, previous civilization, which is very possible. So much unexplored area in Antarctica and just in the ocean, period, and around there and that part of it, but this is like the Earth. So, right, and so that's why they made the legal part of it. They devised like the legality and everything around in the treaties to kind of as a part of the cover, but to keep it secure, right? And that's another thing. Yeah, and I kind of got this weird vibe too from the whole, oh yeah, and I was going on about the legality. So the other part of it, the other part of the cover-up is the utilization as a military zone. Like this is kind of this could be taken as a card like that, but yet this guy is, this could be a launching place where they're launching craft from this area. Okay, and that's kind of like, this is kind of like a heightened ability, the Chariot, but yet it's also can be considered, because it's an act of will. So that can, in a negative way, can be a warring aspect. In fact, when it's reversed, it can be taken as warfare or violence in some way. And so and this guy, the Chariot, he's piloting the Chariot with no hands, using his mental and spiritual capabilities. Okay, and so that's like in the biblical sense, like what they talk about, like the book of Ezekiel, and talking about how that might be a description of like Ezekiel witnessing some kind of hyperdimensional craft or saucers, that kind of thing, right? This is a heightened technology. So that's part of it. They're utilizing a heightened technology, and they've been continuously doing so in a testing zone. And I mean, that could be testing anything. Could be anything, right? And moving people. This is another thing, moving people around. So there might be an access point there, or something that they're utilizing to like what we were talking about, this kind of Stargate thing. And so that might have functioned, but it's almost like they don't fully understand the technology or something, or it's not operating properly. There's always a problem with it. There's something, and they can't utilize it. This is why they have craft. This is why they're moving back and forth, right? And yeah, this thing is much more galactic, cosmic, beyond galactic level. This is way beyond the level that they can sort of understand, I guess. Wow. Okay. And I'm not so surprised though, but it's more interesting when you're kind of picking it up intuitively. and reading it from the cards, right? But you know, it's also a big part of the ruse that they've tried to create. I mean, the whole thing going down to Antarctica in the first place is a big part of a cover-up, and kind of continues to be a big part of a cover-up, and it's still one of the most classified operations that the U.S. Navy has conducted and all this. And like, you can't, you know, and there's a lot of people question a lot of this stuff. It's the poster place. It's their especially right now, they're really trying to present aspects of it to the young people, that this is the frontier of the environmental crisis, and parts of it are untouched, and parts of it prove that the world is careening into a disaster, and the ice shield and the ice shelf and all sorts of stuff. And they really, right? And it's supposed to be this kind of self-fulfilling kind of psyop in a way, where it is always kind of supposed to be in their minds, in people's minds, the new frontier, the forbidden frontier. So just by the very fact that you say that, people, it creates something. Meanwhile, while the whole world was fighting over whatever resources, World War, Cold War, blah, 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 major powers made a major peace treaty to never engage in such a conflict again, and that all conflicts were to be contrived and to sustain sort of more of a global structure, a progressive structure, which is what we're seeing. But that's kind of what this is. This is what it's sort of saying. And it was an agreement that they made, like these Bilderberg, Davos groups, like, and especially in that time in the 50s, it was agreed upon to fabricate this massive lie. And space and Antarctica are a part of it. And part of it is a hiding of technology. There's something about it down there that they found ruins too. There is ruins down there. That's another thing. So meanwhile, what they want is they want us to believe a whole other worldview. Meanwhile, their worldview got shifted. And I mean, we understand this in the conspiracy world. We understand this, like the whole story around Majestic 12. It kind of talks about this, about having contact with hyperdimensional, extra-dimensional, extraterrestrial beings, a couple of different races. And part of it is sort of realizing like that there was an existential threat outside of us. It had nothing to do with the Earth. And so this is, and I mean, it is part of the whole formation of what we perceive as the deep state. And within that time, that's where the break-off group also begun, I think, or I feel. Wow. Okay, so let's just keep going. Let's see what else we got here. What else we come up with. Artifacts. This was the thing, artifacts. So, and their worldview got shifted. And it is a big part of a cover-up. And it really does seem like they're, I got that in that one reading, previous reading that I did, and I guess that was about Maui, just about how they're operating in the ocean, but with this high tech that's also space capable. So they're launching craft from the ocean, and they're doing it down there because there's so much unknown, like the surface. What we see on the surface, that's not what's going on beneath the ice. And these cavities, there's these huge cavities in the ice and access points. Okay, let's see what else comes up here. Yeah, it's just, this is actually confirming what I just said almost, right? This is kind of like the inception, the birth of a hierarchical, like a new structure, like a new political, religious, global structure, new world structure, right? New world order kind of thing, right? And that's what this is. It's how I would read that. Things are coming out. really, but they're really deflecting people. They're deflecting from what is there, right? And a lot of disinformation has been put out to really throw people off of what is the truth around Antarctica. This they've been working on. They've been like working steadily on what I described. And I guess this thing around, for a couple of decades, for quite a few decades, 3 decades, let's say, even, because like, I guess this even is like 80 years, right? So it's been 80 years, like could be decades, but they've been working on this for decades. But this infrastructure, off-world infrastructure, this ability to sort of move back and forth. Now this card, same thing, like if you remember from yesterday, I was talking about this, how there's ships moving back, and you can look the 3 of wands up online to get a better image like of the rider weight. And you see these ships, well, those ships, those could be taken as off-world craft that go off-world. So, and like I was saying before, it's like, I don't know how many exactly people there are doing this, but the numbers are enough to like hide it massively, right? But something has gone wrong. Their plans have been kiboshed. Their infrastructure has been sort of like taken apart. And I guess this might be the shadow war, like this thing that's been going on behind the scenes, especially for the last 7 years, 10 years, 5 years, but the last 7 years for sure. 7. Yeah, and this thing, like, it's not working for them, okay? So that's one thing. They really, I guess, okay, so it's so funny. When I saw this card here, the King of Pentacles, I thought of King Charles. For some reason, he popped up into my mind. And I'm wondering, because since he's been king, I wonder if he has made a trip down there, like his son, Prince Harry. That's maybe one of the things, right? But it's like also this deal of like, it might be one of their centers. Like it might be one of their main centers of power where they've actually like have created a major refuge. And that's why they've like create so much of a smoke screen around it and why it's so classified. It's a necessary sort of a thing that they're doing though, because once it's so fully sort of understood, I guess, what's actually taking place and what's been taking place, what they've achieved down there or whatever, this thing could be utilized for a greater purpose. And that's, I think, part of what this is. But it's, stifling. Yeah, see, they've got like a whole other thing going on as far as like a worldview, an economy. Oh man, they're operating off-world. This is like they're operating on other places, and it's like there's a segment of humanity that has gone interstellar, if not intergalactic, hyperdimensional, but the rest of us haven't. So it's like it's an element of these deep staters. Now, this could also be within the realms of consciousness in the mind as well. I'm not really sure. That's why I'm kind of reluctant to say, oh, this and that. I definitely get this thing on the moon, like moving back and forth, like physically on the moon. But this, what I just said and kind of what I'm picking up, it could be like a communication with another species from somewhere, but it's not like a direct, like they're moving there, but they act as though they kind of live and stuff and do this, right? Maybe they're acting it out. Maybe that's also a part of it. There's a part of it they've experienced aspects of it. And and they're kind of LARPing, like live role playing. Yeah, I wonder how much contact, like I wonder, because a lot of people do believe that there are ETs here. And that the government, like these deep staters, the governments have contact with them. And there's like a hype, and there's a galactic thing going on, galactic scenario that we're inadvertently a part of. And this might be part of the wake up. I'm not sure. I don't really know though. It's different when you have a discussion and you're talking outside of doing a reading, right? When I'm doing a reading, I'm trying to pick up as much as I can and just shoot from the hip, as they say, and just speak it as it comes. And if I don't pick up anything, I say that. If I think that I say exactly what I come up with, right? It makes it's challenging. It's pretty cool though. That's why we like doing it. Okay, just a few more, see what else we need to know. Definitely gonna hit this one back again too, because there's so much here. Space and Antarctica, these are two that definitely interest me, but this is forefront in my mind as part of what they're pushing as the agenda. Okay, power source. Okay, so this card comes up to generation of power, and not only this tech that they're attempting to manipulate the sun or doing something with the sun. That's also something. So like also this different power source is related to the sun, and that makes total sense. Interesting. 2 major arcana cards. Let's draw one more. Oh yeah. Ooh, look at that. That's fun. Right. This guy. So he came up reversed, but I'll keep it like this so we can see it. Man, these guys are doing some wild stuff. That's all I gotta say. They're trying to birth a new reality, a new being, a new world and that's one of the places down there. And that's kind of what I'm picking up as well. Some crazy experimentation. They utilize people in a very dastardly way, and we know this already, but in a way like more like medical experiment, like that kind of thing. And just, yeah, man, this is where a lot of stuff is going on. It's funny how that's how I read this, because normally this would be really positive, right? Like this is really, and I think this is too, it's like people, so what this kind of shows us, like we have to really trust our intuition. This card is totally about intuition, and that we have to trust our intuition with information. We have to research stuff. Man, there's a lot of things that are being put on the internet that is AI generated. And it's very easy to spot actually, but it's going to become more and more difficult as that technology becomes developed, right? They have this kind of core belief that at the end of the world, that's one of their refugees. That's where they're going to go. So they've got this kind of like end of the world belief system that they're trying to produce. They're trying to create. And we talked about this. There's the plans being kiboshed, and the more people know, I guess, the more it blows their plans apart. Okay, that's a lot for today. Thank you so much for joining me on this. We're definitely going to read a bit more about this over different episodes. There's a lot of information there. So please hit the subscribe button. Make sure you hit the notification bell as well. Leave a comment, share, hit the like button. Take care. Many blessings to you all, and I hope to see you again. Bye-bye.